Welcome back, mech200. This time we've got a thing we're going to sketch. It's Simpson strong tie. We're here in Canada, so this is sold at our local hardware stores. There's some holes. We're going to ignore these holes, the text, all that sort of stuff. What we're going to do is have a go at drawing just the sort of basic shape with the same techniques as we developed in the previous video where we were drawing cubes. If you haven't watched the cube video, maybe have a look, or at least peruse it so you get a feel for what we're doing. We're going to do a dimetric. So we're not doing an isometric, we're doing a dimetric. This guy, we need to know the shape and the proportions of it. Again, ruler time, 4.5 all the way. This is interestingly 4.5 as well. Not exactly the same. So there's a cube, half cube hidden in here, or flat cube. It's 3:1. So we've got 1.5 by 4.5. So we're going to do this fairly big, and we're going to do a dimetric. So we have this view, so we can do it quite a bit bigger. Do it like this angle. No, I want to see the inside. So I'll do it like this. So we'll draw a square, again about 15 degrees off the angle, and then we'll project down the depth this way. So we want to show the true shape at the top. I have my old same measuring chit or piece of paper here, and I've got this 2 units already. Might need 1/2, but we have 4.5 to 1.5, which kind of implies 3. It might be nice to do just 3 units. See if it fits. So just somewhere towards the bottom of the page, doesn't matter, or over on the side, wherever. Gonna get 3 units out of this. So 1, 0, 1, 2. Step it down to get our step it the right way. 3 if you can fit it. If you can't fit it, just get another measuring stick out. It's again about 3 fingers. And I'm just using dots on the page to step out 1, 2, and 3 units. So I'm gonna start about 15 degrees off angle, and because I know where I'm going, I'm gonna put this corner up here. So it'll be down from here. So if I get it safely in here, we should be okay. So 0 to 3. Again, might need some help. I'm going to use my sheet of paper cheat. So just to get an angle. I would like it to be square, although it's not a big deal if it's not perfect, but it'd be nice if it was at least somewhat there. So there's my angle, 90 degrees. And almost exactly 2, but I want 3. Now I have to draw a big line here, so let's start trying to figure where to put the thumbnail. We're going to draw. We've got some dots here, so we're going to start with this line, come down. Now we could go ahead here and start drawing the rest of the square, but we know there's nothing down here. It's up to you. I am not going to draw this part. So we're going to skip that and just go straight to these verticals, close it off in the right size. I think that's probably too long, but there we go. And then make a big deal, a song and dance about the thickness. So that's the plan. We'll also have the sun, I would say, put it in the same spot. So our top edge is going to be closest. So this will be the lightest. The darkest will be the side facing most away. So the third darkest, the heaviest one will be actually hidden from the sun, and our intermediate will be on the other side. That's the plan. So let's go ahead and do that. So we've got our start here. Now sometimes it's quite hard to draw, especially for me with this taped down page. Sometimes it's hard to get the line correct, so you can give yourself some helping marks in between. Where are we? Okay, so that's my line, that's the layout. So I'm gonna try best. Tons of coffee. Now, not going to worry about this bend yet. So I'll just get the general shape in. So it's a little bigger than life size. I want to fill the page as much as I can. Now again, I could go ahead here and construct my next part, right? So, you know, we need another 3, so let's try where that would be and see if we got it reasonably well. Not bad. This is our corner if we wanted to draw another edge, but not too worried about that. However, we do need a vertical. Now it's 1 unit, so we're saying this is 3 units, 4.5, 1.5, which is a third of that, so 1 unit down, so we're going to use this half again. So half a unit down because of our compression in the dimetric. So this is, say for example, 3 units, 3 units, and normally this would be 1. But for us, because of the dimetric, we're going to be going half a unit, which is 1 unit real. Half a unit. Okay, so measuring this off, again, to reiterate, 3 units long, 1 unit in reality, but because of the projection, it's half, 50%, so it's half a unit. After all that, to use my stick, or my measuring stick, I'm looking at the side of the paper here, which you can't see. Trying to get it fairly straight. There's 1, there's a half. Quite small, because it is quite a thin part. So no shock there. Again, we're going the other way. Try and get a vertical, make sure we've done a reasonable job here. Nope. Arcing around. It is hard to get this right. So the ruler does help. So we've got 3. Trying to keep it parallel. Make sure we got it right. That's good. And if we want, we can add some dots again. If we lose our mark, we can erase this other one, so it doesn't confuse the video. Again, we can give ourselves some helping dots, helping hand. This is quite close, so this does tend to be quite difficult to sketch. Connect them up. Ooh. Now, which way? So we got 1 option, 2 options. Let's have a quick look. There's something strange about the measurements. See if we can, I hope this is focused, but 4.5. This is actually to the inside edge, if you notice. Whereas this guy goes to the outside edge. So what does that mean for us? So that's our full length. This one's on the outside. So if we, for example, put our little helper here, this one's on the outside, the thickness. This one's on the inside. Now, I don't want to make this any thinner. It's also painful. So what if I say, okay, well, let's put this on the outside. Let's make sure we've got that right. So I want it to be the long length. I know it's very picky. 4.5 on the inside. And that is to the outside. Hold on. 4.5. This is not on the inside. Sorry. I think I just said the same thing 4 times in a row. Anyway, this measurement here, the curve, the radius of this is actually, it looks like the same thickness as the plate. So let's see what that is. So I'm saying it's 1/8 of an inch, I think. Yep. So 1/8 of an inch, which is what is that? It's an eighth of one of hold on, units. And so there's all these problems, like which one are we taking? One way is just to say, okay, well, we're not making this ultra realistic. So let's go ahead here and just do an eighth of a unit. Won't be exact, maybe close enough. How do we get an eighth? Fold it once more, quarter. Fold it once more, eighth. It gets really small, you can do your own, just do it by eye. There's our eighth. So that's, let's go with that thickness. It's emphasized, it's way too big, but we're trying to show the viewer what we want them to see. So let's go with an eighth on the outside. Parallel in space, parallel in the sketch. So these two lines should be parallel. And are they? So sometimes helps to use other things. Not really. Let's get rid of that overly ambitious angle. So the only thing I'm really concerned about, trying to keep parallelity or parallelness. Same on this guy. We're going inside this time. So parallel, parallel. And we can use the measurement, because this is true shape, up here on the top. So because this is a square, and it's kind of a square, then we can just measure off directly here. We can put as many helpers as we wish on this ultra thick piece. Now we're going to the other side up here. So this is on the outside. And again, because there is another plane underneath, which is also true shape, we can measure that direct. And we can measure that direct. So just to reiterate, this is our true shape, but because we have a straight profile, this underside is also true shape. So we can measure directly on there too. So what does that mean? It means that's our thickness at the end. Coming across really thick. I'm just going to go all the way here, but we're going to curve this later. So once we figure out where we are, parallel, get some helping lines here with a really weavy line. And then our thickness. I'm saying the inside radius of that curve is an eighth as well. So we're going to start trying to ignore the under construction, start and finish there. Same down here. There's ways to construct this and all this sort of stuff, but these are true shapes, so this will be a quarter circle. And the same up here, so the same size on both. Won't be able to see the back through this part, but we'll be able to see this backside of this arc. So we can kind of assume that it's bent smoothly, and it starts here and there, which will give us a quarter. You can see my sketch is not perfect, but it's not bad, I suppose. So there's my arc. And the same will be on the back face, but we can't see that. So that's our shape. And we can now say we've discovered these edges. Now, I screwed up. So what's missing here? Well, I forgot to add the thickness underneath. Sorry about that. So let's fix it. Give myself some help. Some of you have been sitting there going, you've missed it, bud. I'm going to erase this, even though it's probably not a big deal. But just so we can all see it. So there's our correct spot above this. So if you want, you could load that in. And we're an eighth. That's more like it. So what we just did there, that check, let's make sure that our edges are all found correctly. That's what that step is for. It usually catches errors that we've allowed or not noticed. It's not a big deal. You can always go in and fix it. Didn't do it on purpose, but it's not a bad thing to have happened. make sure our edges are looking right. Kind of a preliminary before the hatching or the shaping. Sun's up here. Now, this is going to be facing the sun more than this side. So this again is our 1, this is our 2, and that's our 3. The darkest, intermediate, and lightest. So the sun's kind of above and looking down. This will be hidden by the intervening wall, if you want to think of it that way. This will be second, it's further away, not the top, and this will be the last. Notice that there's 2 sets of 3s. One that goes all the way around, and then we'll have another 2 over here. That's the plan. We're not doing the holes, but we'd be able to measure those out with our unit stick if we wished. So let's go ahead here and just get started. The top is our easy unit, first lightest color, and just gonna continue right around. If I can. Trying to stay vertical, implying the shape here. So fun. Gonna stop here. Figure that out later, but I do want to go with its direction here, so it's a little artificial, but I'm going around trying to keep it the same. We'll return to that corner later. In this curve, I want to emphasize the fact that it's going round, but it's also the same surface. So from CADland, you would like to say this is all one edge, one surface. It's going to go round and radialify, if you want to think of it that way, those edges. If you want, you can connect these up together. It's up to you. We'll maybe come back to this later, because this might change our hatching as we go through here. Now, we've got 3 and 2. Let's do the 3. I'm going to use the same approach as before. I'm going to try and just hatch this vertically to give myself some targets. Keeping it parallel. This is going to be a cramper. And all the way around into the 2. If I can actually do verticals here all over the place. I'm going to do the 3 immediately after I maybe emphasize this corner a bit. Again, this is not a real edge, right? If you look at the real thing, there's no hard line on the corner, but because we're doing technical sketching, it's not a bad thing to do. And off we go with the boring, heavy hatch. This is our 3. I'm pushing fairly hard here. And try and keep them very close. Cramping slightly. There we go. That's the mech200 cramp running nicely through my, it's now on my wrist. I've had a whole summer of no sketching, so, or at least no hatching. Screw head underneath there. Starting to, can tell how much it's cramping if I'm not thinking about it by getting lighter and darker. It's okay. Hatching's not perfect. We're trying to show shape and we're trying to contemplate the object itself. Just trying to, oh, there's a sharp edge. So gouging into the paper, sudden darkness, my old friend. Leave it, once we get to this end here, I'm gonna leave it for a second. We'll figure out when we're gonna get around that corner, or around that bend. Okay, so that's our, hopefully our dark spot. Now, this is really bad formed in some places, but if you want to, for example, if you notice that there's quite a bit of differentiation here, you can smear it slightly. Again, some people are purists, they will not do this. That used to be me. Don't worry about going over the edge. You can also use a smearing stick, if I can find one. I had one somewhere. I'll keep an eye out for it. You can use your finger, which is fine. I'm just looking for it. Don't have it. Smear it with this. If the more greasy your fingertips are, the more it'll smear. But don't get too carried away. Again, we're not doing unicorns, so don't get crazy. I'm going to try to go from this side here. Now I want an intermediate, or second, so halfway in between here, perhaps. And make sure that that's, is it obvious? I don't know. Let's have another go on the next edge. Not bad, a little bit hairy, but what we want to do is transfer around and make an intermediate. So this would be kind of similar, maybe a little heavier. I'm also going to curve the lines a little bit, even though it's not a big deal. And then a sort of heavy intermediate go around this part of the bend. We may need some help in here. So for example, you might want to darken this up as we go around, but we'll figure that out as we go. So again, getting a block of color right in here. Too much tone, but not Not enough to make me erase it yet. See, it's already a bit smudged in here. So we're just adding lead or graphite over the top of this guy. Smudging is inevitable. I don't want to turn into a person who has to get rid of all the smudging using protectors and all this sort of stuff. We should be able to sketch through adversity, shall we say. So don't need to get so carried away. What color is this end? Well, it's actually a 3 because it's the same parallel to this face over here, so this is quite dark. This guy's a 2, so similar to this. So not so dark, but darker than the top. But again, we're kind of done here, but we need to maybe emphasize this guy. So again, if you watch the cube videos, you'll see that one of the tricks or one of the shortcuts or one of the lazinesses, how about that, is to actually just do a piece where it's closer to a contrasting tone. So for example, this wants to be darker than this third or the darkest part, whereas this one here wants to be darker than the top. So you might want to try and show that. Again, the darker you make this, the darker you have to do to here. So you end up in this sort of arms race of darkness. Eventually you'll have so much graphite on there you won't be able to tell, and you'll have to erase it out and start again. So just covering lines in almost random directions, trying to show shape. Same over here. I want to emphasize that this is totally different, but also not too light. So this is a little bit too light down here. So just adding hatches in various angles, directions, to emphasize the shapes that we have. Stand back at it. It's going to look a little twisted, right? You expect to see, probably even now, we're still expecting to see a little bit of perspective, but it's not in there. So just leaving it. Again, I want to emphasize the perimeter, so I'm going to go ahead here and do the typical Colin thing, which is run out of lead halfway the line. Go around the corner. Got some edge here, edge is okay through here. I want to say this is quite clearly rounded here. You can use your eraser shield here. Now, before we've been using just the edges. One of the advantages of this thing is it's got all sorts of curves on it. So we can see one here. So you can kind of sometimes get a half a curve per time. So for example, clean that edge off there. And then we can kind of work our way around doing a bit at a time. So it's up to you. If you want to do this stuff, feel free. If you're feeling a little weary or wary of your erasing, you can use this interior slot. Which will kind of, it's easier to keep it straight and from rippling. You sometimes bend the eraser shield, which is why this one's bent. So, not too bothered with this stuff in between, but I just want to tidy up the corners. Not too much though. Right, so I'm not going to erase off this guy. So the slot's good for that. So I don't want to get rid of all of my construction altogether. It's just enough. So for example, here I'm going to get rid of too much. So I'll use this edge, this little thin line. Gives you a nice edge, which is great. So this is there's 3, 1, 2, 3. This one's quite good for this sort of stuff. So the intermediate line is often used for this. Screwed up. So you can add it back on. Right, we're not trying to make it into a computer rendering because we need some weaviness and all that stuff, but it's not bad to have it a little bit tighter. Now, this looks like it's getting fatter in here. So again, emphasizing the corner here. Emphasizing this curve and the darkness below, I think. It's getting dark in here. So one thing I can do is actually get in here with some of this shape. See this little guy right here? Some of these arcs. I'm actually going to lighten this out as best I can, slightly. So I'm just touching it. If you have kneaded eraser, this is your chance. I'll talk about that in another video. So just erasing that, cleaning it out. Let's try again. Try to get the weight about the same. Having a hard time here. So try and match up the lines to what's already there. And because you drew them, you should have not a hard time getting them replaced. There we go. That's enough. So that's our part. There's our original. Again, later we'll put on dimensions and stuff like that, I think, but for now we've really emphasized the thickness. We've not done the holes, so that would be our next. Erase out some spots, put the holes in, we could do that. But the key thing here is just to get shape and use a dimetric. Again, it's 3 units long, squarish. Again, dimensions will do that. We didn't really change the length very much because again, we're always going to be aiming at CAD. So eventually somebody's going to put this into CAD. And that'll be where everything is defined to the nth degree, right? So we're modern mechanical designers of some sort. We don't need to get crazy carried away with a sketch. However, we do need to show shape. We've done that. And we've used a dimetric. That's all kosher. Thanks for watching. Over to you.